Hello friends, welcome to JavaScript learning series. In this video we are going to learn about JavaScript promises. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So what is promises? In JavaScript, promise is a built-in feature that helps you to handle asynchronous operations such as network request, file operations or the database calls in more organized way and the readable way. Like a promise is an essential object that represents the eventual completion of the asynchronous operations and allow you to handle the result of that operations once it is completed. So let's take one example and create one promise. So basically to create a promise we need to use the promise constructor. So let's have one promise. I am giving variable name promise. You can give it anything else, whatever you want. Equal to new promise. Now in this particular constructor we will pass a callback function, and within this callback function this will have the two arguments. One is resolve and another one is reject. We will talk about that later, like what is the use of resolve and what is the use of reject. So now here we are within the promise, we are going to do some asynchronous operations. So for now what I am doing is just returning, like calling the set timeout. As you know, set timeout is the asynchronous function in JavaScript. So I'm just calling the set timeout, and in set timeout I'm going to return that particular whatever the some asynchronous value, like for now let's say I'm just returning the 100 value. So for now I'm using the resolve. Let's discuss it later, like what is the use of resolve and reject. So I'm passing that particular value. So here we have the one promise. Now we need to call this promise. So benefit of promise is like we can handle the asynchronous operations. So for example, let's say I'm calling this particular promise dot then, and this is going to have argument like function which will have the data. You can name it and anything whatever you want. So basically this is the value which will be returned from your promises. So you can name it data or anything, it's completely depend on you. And for now I'm just console.log data. So here we have consider only the positive scenario as of now. We'll take the negative scenario also. So now let's get back to the resolve part. So here we have the two values in the callback functions, resolve and the reject. So if basically your asynchronous or whatever asynchronous operation is going to happen between this particular two block, like this particular within this particular block, if that happens successfully, you can mark it as a resolve this promise, or if something went wrong within that particular block of code, you can mark it as a reject. So it will indicate that your promise is failed. So that's why we have here the two values, resolve and the reject. Now as of now we passed resolve, and let's see that we received this value. So we missed here one thing, like we are passing the timeout value to 3000, so that after 3000 milliseconds this particular promise will be resolved and we got the value. So let's clear the console and see the output. So if you can see here, after the 3000 milliseconds we received the value 100. Let's do it again. Now, as this is the asynchronous operations, JavaScript is not going to wait to complete this particular their execution within that tab. So let's add one console after this. I am after promise call. So basically, as this is the promise, the JavaScript is not going to wait to console this particular value and it's moving to the next step. And once this asynchronous operation is completed, it will console this particular value. So let's see. See, this console is already printed, and after that, that 100 will be printed after 3000 milliseconds. So that's the how we can use the promise. Now let's try reject. So generally in the reject, we can throw an error, like we can pass new error and error, error, and you can reject that. So here we didn't received anything. Why? Because it rejected this particular promise. So on reject of that promise, this is not going to handle within this particular then callback. It's for that we have to catch that particular error. So catch error and console.log error. So now we can get this particular error object. If you can see here, we got the object error. So in that way we can handle that rejection of the promise, and we already seen that how we can resolve the promise on completion of or on successful asynchronous operation completion. So yeah, this is the complete promise how it works, and I hope that is clear. And yeah, see you guys on the next video with some other topics. Till then, happy programming.